So, what's today all about? Well, in this whole series that we've been doing for the grade 11s, we've been looking at individual subjects, things like finance, graph work, shape and measurement, where we looked at areas and perimeter and volume. We've had a session on statistics. But what today's session's all about is we're going to consolidate all that work and put it into different exam papers. And today we are going to focus on paper 1. Now, if you're in grade 11, at the end of the year, you are going to write two 2-hour papers. Paper 1 and a paper 2, each 2 hours. If you're in grade 12, remember, you're doing two 3-hour papers. A paper 1 for 3 hours and a paper 2 for 3 hours. Sure, that's a long time to write an exam. But grade 11's two 2-hour exams. Okay, having said that, let's look at today's subject. So it's paper 1 problems, and we're going to look at all the different kind of questions that you could find in a paper 2. Now, in this session, we're going to focus on the skills you need to complete a paper 1 examination. Now, remember that paper 1, we're just looking at the skills. Do you know how to do certain things? Do you know how to calculate a percentage? Do you know how to draw a graph? Do you know how to calculate the area or the volume? In the paper 2, we come up with huge problems that you've got to solve using the skills. But we'll worry about paper 2 in another series. Let's just focus on the paper 1. Question 1. So what we're going to do is we are going to go through some questions that you'll find in a paper 1. Now, the first thing I want to tell you about a paper 1 is the question number 1 is a whole lot of little basic things. There's no context involved. There's no story behind the problem. It's just straightforward. Do this, do that, do this, do that. For example, our first question, calculate 4/5 of 180 Rand. Take note, there's no story. It's just saying, oi, find 4/5 of 180. So let's do that. I'm going to say 4/5. Now, what's the mathematical term for the word of? It's times. So 4/5 of 180 Rand. Okay? Equals. Now, calculator, let's use our calculator. And guys, use the calculator. Your parents have paid a lot of money for that calculator. They're going to get annoyed if you don't use it. Okay? I bought my son some Lego the other day, found it in the corner, most frustrated because I spent a lot of money on that. You play with it. If your folks bought you a calculator, play with the thing. Use it. So, 4/5, let's do it, fraction button, 4/5, multiplied by 180 equals 144. So we write our answer 144. But, listen carefully, it's not just 144. The question gave us a unit. It said find 4/5 of 180 Rand. So our answer must also be in rands. So it's going to be 144 Rand. Now, come real close and listen to me. Examiners and the people who mark your paper at the end of the year are sometimes mean and horrible. And sometimes they look for a mark to deduct. And one of the places they find a mark that they can take away is if you don't put the units in. So remember, must put the units in. Say that to yourself every night after you've said your prayers. Okay, so 4/5 of 180 Rand, 144. Next question. 30% of 42 Rand, 90. Again, there's no story. It's just, hey pal, find 30% of 42 Rand 90. Now, 30% means 30 over 100 because percentage is over 100. Of, here's that word of again, meaning multiplied. And we're going to multiply it by 42 Rand 90. So let's take out this wonderful calculator and away we go. we're going to say I want 30% of 42 Rand 90, remember 90 cents, equals, and there's my answer, 12.87. Now, equals 12.87. 12.87 what? 12.87 rands, because the question had rands. So 340 Rand decreased by 4%, we're taking away 4%. So let's write that down. 340 Rand, I'm going to decrease, in other words, I'm subtracting 4% of the 340 Rand, equals 340 Rand minus, now let's do this calculation. We are going to say I want 4%, and by now we should know it's 4 over 100, and we're multiplying that by 340, and we land up with an answer of 13 Rand 60. Now, I want to stop for a minute. I want to look at this. 13,6. That's what the calculator gave us. But the calculator is a funny little machine, okay? It doesn't have a brain of its own. It can't think for itself. It only does what you push into it. Now, when I said 4 over 100 times 340, it had no idea I was dealing with money. So it gives me an answer of 13,6. But you know, because you're dealing with money, money has got to be rounded to 2 decimal places. And why? Because you've got rands and cents, and there are 100 cents in a rand. So instead of 13,6, I'm going to say 13 Rand 60. Now it's straightforward. All we're going to do is say, right, so let's do this. 340 Rand minus 13 Rand 60 equals, and my answer is going to be 326.4. So 326.4, but we know 0.40 because we're dealing in rands and cents. Okay? Remember earlier I said sometimes the markers and the examiners look for where they can take a mark away, and we said one of the areas is with units. Another place where they take marks away is if you don't put money to 2 decimal places. They're expecting you to know that. You deal with money every single day, no matter how young, no matter how old you are, okay? You know, money 2 decimal places. Right, next question. 28 expressed as a percentage of 84. So 28 as a percentage of 84. In other words, 28 out of 84 times 100. So if you wrote a test and you got 28 out of 84, how much is that as a percent? Again, our calculator is going to do all that work for us. It's going to say 28 of 84, over 84 rather, times 100, because we're changing it to a percent, and we're going to get an answer of 33,33. So 33,33. What? Percent, because they've asked it as a percentage. Having fun? I am. Let's keep going. Next question. If I exchange 36 Rand and I receive $3.65, what would I get if I exchanged 90 Rand? Sure, that's quite a question, eh? So let's have a look at it. I've got 36 Rand, and for that 36 Rand, I'm getting $3.65. Now that kind of seems unfair, doesn't it? I got all this money in rands, I go and exchange it to dollars, and I come up with a measly little bit amount of money. All right? Now, we want to know how many dollars am I going to get if I exchange 90 Rand? Now, here's a major hint I want to give you. And it always works, no matter when you're doing ratio and rate. If you know what 36 Rand's going to give you, try and determine how much is 1 Rand going to give you. Okay? So 36 Rand, so how much will 1 Rand give me? Now, I need to ask the following question. How did I get that 36 to become a 1? I divided it by 36. And what I do to this side, I'm going to have to do to that side as well. So I'm also going to divide that by 36. And that's an important rule to remember. Okay? What you do to the one ratio, you've got to do to the other. Otherwise, it's unfair. It's like having a little brother or a little sister at home. Imagine, like for example, I've got a little brother. Imagine when I was growing up, if I got home and my mom and dad called me and they said, you know what, we've got good news for you. We've decided to give your brother an extra 100 Rand a month pocket money. Oh, I'm going to get excited. Why am I going to get excited? Because I know if he gets extra 100 Rand, so am I. But imagine if they said, well, that's all. We're just giving him 100 Rand. Off you go. Well, that's totally unfair. It's unjust. It doesn't make sense. And the same with ratios. For me to have got the 36 Rand down to 1, I divided it by 36. So I've got to do to that side of the ratio as well. So how do I do that? Well, if I take my calculator now, and I'm going to say, right, I've got 36. I'm going to divide it now by, what did we say? Sorry, 365. Let's try that again, shall we? So we're going to say, I've got 3.65, I'm going to divide it by 36, and I'm going to land up here with a major answer of 0.10138888889. Oh my goodness, there's so many 8s there, I got confused myself. Okay? So what I would suggest, because that answer is such a horrible one, that what we do is this. We say, that's the same thing as saying 3 over 65 over 36. Can you see what I've done? I've actually got 3,65 over 36, so I don't land up with this horrible answer of 0, carrying on forever. Right? Now, that's what 1 Rand's going to give me. So what is 90 Rand going to give me? Well, we are wanting to find out 90. So what we're going to do then is we're going to say, okay, how do I get the 1 Rand to 90 Rand? I'm going to multiply by 90. And remember, what I do to one side, I'm going to have to do to the other side. So we are also multiplying that now by 90. So what do I have? Well, now I've got, oops, we wanted to try and get green. Let's try. I've got 3,65 over 36 times 90. Okay, so now let's slap that into our calculator. So we've got 3.65 over 36, and we're going to multiply that by 90. And what do we get? We now land up with an answer of 9.125. So this is now 9,125. 9,125 what? 9,125 dollars. But the dollar works very similar to the Rand. Okay? It's also got 100 cents in the Rand. So we're going to say, I'm actually going to round that. I've got 9,13 dollars. So that's what the 90 Rand is going to give me. Sure, there was a lot of steps to that question, hey? Let's go on. My next question says the following. An article costing 31 Rand 92 cents includes VAT of 14%. What was the original price of the article before the VAT was added? Now, you know, or should know at this stage anyway, that every item in a shop, except a few things like brown bread and mealie meal and rice, okay, all gets VAT added onto it. The nice thing for you, though, is normally you don't have to work out that VAT, because you go, you look at the shop, you look at the shelf, and you say, I want that. How much is that? And it gives you one price, and that includes the VAT. Okay? But somebody had to work that out. And so what we are saying in this question is this. An article costs 31 Rand 92, but it includes the VAT of 14%. So what was the price before we added the VAT? Now let's have a look at this. We've got a price plus 14%, okay, of the price, and that gave me the price with VAT. So this was the price without VAT. We added 14% of that price, and finally we got the price with the VAT. An easier way of doing it would be to do the following. Say the price without the VAT times 114 over 100 equals the price with the VAT, which in this case is 31 Rand 92. Sure, let's just go through that again. So I've got the price of the goods. I'm going to multiply it by 114. Why 114? Well, I want the price of the actual article, which is 100%, plus a further 14%, which is the VAT. So the price of the article, let's say I bought this shirt. It's a very nice shirt. Let's say I bought this shirt and it cost 20 Rand excluding VAT. How much will it cost me? Well, it's going to cost me the 20 Rand plus 14%, which will work out to about 2 Rand 80. So the whole shirt's going to cost me 22 Rand 80. So it's the price of the shirt plus 14%. 100% of the shirt plus 14% VAT. And that gives me 114%. So the price times 114% equals 31 Rand 92. So what's the price by itself? Okay, well, I've got 31 Rand 92. And what am I going to do? I want to take this 114 over 100 across to the other side. So what do we actually land up doing? Now, I'm going to stop for a minute and tell you a story. I've said the story before, but it's a wonderful story, so listen up. Let's pretend that I'm living in Cape Town, okay? And I want to go to Disney World, which is in Orlando. And Orlando is across in the United States. So I'm going to draw that here, okay? Now, please understand, I'm not an artist, okay? So don't you dare laugh at this. So here we go. So I've got Africa. There she is, gone a little bit skew. And then over here, I've got kind of northern America, well, part of it. Just use your imagination. Now, on this as well, we got Cape Town over there, and I've got Orlando over here. And I want to go from Cape Town to Orlando, but there are two problems. Problem number one, I can't fly. Hate flying. When I fly, I go absolutely hysterical. People want to throw me out the plane. I may not fly. Okay? Number two, I can't go by boat. Why not? Because I get seasick and it's just horrific. So we can't fly, we can't go by boat. What do? Well, we got a problem. So I go to the South African Roads Department and I say, "Oi guys, you got to help me out here. Would you mind building a bridge between South Africa and America? Because I want to go to Disney World." And they say, "You know what, sir, for you, anything, we'll build a bridge." And that's what they do. So we have this humongously long bridge built across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, this poses a problem. And the problem is this, that when I live in South Africa, and as a male driver, I will drive on the left-hand side of the road. Okay? So there I go. Now, my wife being female, well, she drives on any side. But so let's keep it realistic. We're going to drive on the left-hand side. If I was a male driver driving in America, I would drive on the right-hand side. So here we are in America, we're driving on the right-hand side. Now, guys, at this point over here, both drivers are going to get horrific fright, okay? Because there's going to be an oncoming car. My wife, she's used to that. She doesn't panic anymore. It still gives me a bit of a shock. So we're driving along. This car comes towards me. Folk, we got a problem. So what we do now is we get hold of the South African Roads Department again and we say, hey, we got a problem here. We need a bridge on the bridge. And so they build a little bridge on the bridge. So now when I drive along, I cross over the bridge and these guys go under the bridge and everybody is happy. Okay. Now what on earth has this story got to do with mathematical literacy? Well, let's have a look. If we go back to our equation, can you see my bridge over here? Okay, there's a bridge. And when I cross over that bridge, things must change. I can't keep going on the left-hand side. When I cross over the bridge, I go on the right-hand side. My equal sign is just like the bridge. And when I cross over the bridge, my times, we've lost the pen, we've found the pen, my times becomes a divide. My divide becomes a times. My plus becomes a minus, and my minus becomes a plus. Now let's have a look here. Price times 114 over 100 equals 31.92. It's times, when it goes across, it's going to become divide. So the price is that divided by 114 over 100. And then we'll find the cost of that actual item. Okay, so let's just use our calculator again, and we're going to say, right, I have got 31 Rand. And what do I have? 31 Rand 92. So 31 Rand 0.92 over, and what was it over? It's going to be over 114 Rand, oh sorry, 114% equals 28 Rand. So that is the actual price excluding the VAT, 28 Rand. Easy, hey? Let's check it. Now this is when I always get nervous because I think, oh, I hope it's really going to work out. But let's check it. I'm confident we got the right answer. Let's see. So if I bought something for 28 Rand, let's pretend it's a shirt, okay? Plus, I add the 14% of the 28 Rand. Let's do the maths. Equals 28 Rand. Plus, what's 14% of 28 Rand? So let's do it. We got 28 times 14% equals, and we've got 3 Rand 92. So 3 Rand 92. So 3 Rand 92 plus my 28, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, here we go, and the answer is 31 Rand 92, and we were told it was 31 Rand 92. Sure, I just love it when things work out. Next one, moving on, we're on a roll, so let's not stop. Concentrated juice must be mixed in the ratio of 1 part of juice to 4 parts of water. How much concentrate will you need to make 1 liter of mixed juice? All right, you all know what concentrated juice is, okay? You go off to the local shop and you get juice in a bottle. And concentrated juice means you can't open that lid and just glug. Guys, you'll get such a sugar high, you'll be running around till like 3, 4 in the morning. Okay? And besides that, it'll taste absolutely awful. So what you do is you put a little bit of juice and then you top it up with water. Okay? Then you drink it. Maybe drop in an ice block or 2 and then you drink. Oh, fantastic. But here it says this particular juice, we've got a ratio of juice to water. For every 1 part of juice, we put 4 parts of water. Now, how much concentrate will you need to make 1 liter of mixed juice? Okay, folk. Now, how many parts are there altogether, right? So, if I've got the 1 part juice, 4 parts water, I add them up and I land up with 5 parts. So, we've got 1 liter and we're going to divide it by 5. If we do that, okay, we're going to say, right, 1 divided by 5, and we get 0, 2. So we got 0, 2 liters. So juice is 0,2 liters. 4 parts, well, if 1 part 0,2, 4 parts is going to be 4 times 0,2, which is 0,8 liters. So I have 1 liter of mixed juice, 0,2 liters, which is what? 200 mils, 200 milliliters. And this is 800 milliliters. Now the question here doesn't ask us to put it in milliliters or to keep it in liters. So the marker would have to accept both. Who's ever set this paper or question, they would have to say, you know, if they put 0,2 liters to 0,8 liters, they get the 2 marks. If they put 200 milliliters to 800 milliliters, they've also got to get the marks. Do you see that? Now what must that add up to? It's got to add up to 1 liter. If it doesn't add up to 1 liter, we've made a mistake. I'm excited because we're getting so much done here. Okay? And remember what I said to you initially? The first part of the questions are just basic, straightforward. Do this, do that, find this, find that. Now we start coming to a little story. Let's have a look here. A restaurant pays a basic salary of 50 Rand a day and then 15 Rand for every hour worked. So I go to a restaurant and I say, I'd like to work for you, please. I'd like to be a waiter. And the owner says, that's absolutely fantastic. This is how we pay. We give you 50 Rand if you're here for the day. Here's your 50 Rand. Plus, for every hour you work, you're going to get 15 Rand. Well, that's fantastic. Now, determine an equation that you could use to work out the salary earned. So, my salary is going to be what? Well, it's going to be 50 Rand upfront plus a further 15 Rand per hour. Sure, that wasn't hard, and it was 2 marks. Next question. If Shane worked from 12:30 to 5 o'clock, sorry, 12:30 to 1700, what salary could he earn? Wait, now, let's stop for a minute. Let's have a look at this funny time here, 1700. What is 1700? 1700 is 5 p.m. So we know that he works from 12:30 in the afternoon to 5 o'clock that afternoon. How many hours is that? Well, it's 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30. So it's 4 hours. And we got another half an hour, okay, or 30 minutes. Or we could just say, you know what, it's 4.5 hours that he's actually going to work. Now I'm going to digress for a minute or so, and I'm going to show you something fantastic on your calculator. So if you've got a calculator similar to this calculator has a time function, okay? And what do I mean by a time function? What I mean is it helps you calculate the time. And what it does is this. It works on the following principle, that I type in the hours, I type in the minutes, and I type in the seconds. After typing in the hours, I push my time button. After typing in the minutes, I push my time button. And after typing in the seconds, I push my time button. What do I mean by that? Let's have a look. I've got 1700 hours. So I'm going to say 17, now this button over here. Okay, can you see that? That's my time button, right? It's a little circle, comma, comma, comma. So 17 hours, no minutes and no seconds, minus, so we started at, ended at 1700, we started at 12:30. So it's 12 hours, 30 minutes and 0 seconds. Let's push equals and see what happens. And there it gives us the answer. 4 hours, 30 minutes. Maybe just now we need to spend a little bit of time looking at that time function. And that's a good idea. We'll do that just now. But let's just finish this question, okay? So we know that Shane now has worked 4.5 hours. And because he's worked the 4.5 hours, we want to work out what we're going to pay him. Well, according to this formula over here, according to this formula over here, we are going to say Shane gets 50 Rand plus 15 Rand times 4.5 hours equals, well, that's 50 Rand plus 15 times 4.5. Let's do that. We're going to say 15 multiplied by 4.5, and we get an answer then of 67.5. So 67.5, or 67,5, but it's in Rand, so it's 67 Rand 50 cents. And then to that, we're going to add 50 Rand. And our final answer then is 117 Rand 50 cents. So 117 Rand and 50 cents. So for just working 4.5 hours, that's the kind of money you're going to earn. That's fantastic. Okay, let's all go and find that restaurant and work for it. Okay, I said I'm going to digress for a minute, and I just want to look at the following. Let's say I gave you this question. I said to you, I want you to add 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 50 seconds. To that, you must add 4 hours, 50 minutes, and 20 seconds. Okay. Now, what you would do is you would say, okay, so we've got to add all our seconds, then add all our minutes, and then add all our hours. Remember, there are 60 seconds in a minute. So every 60 seconds I get, I'm going to carry one to the minute column. So let's look at that. So 50 plus 20 is 70, which means we've got 1 minute and 10 seconds. Okay? Now, 20 plus 50 is 70, plus 1 is 71, which means we carry 1 hour, that's 60, and that leaves me with 11 minutes. 1 hour plus 3 hours is 4 hours, plus 4 hours is 8 hours. Now, let's do this on the calculator. Okay, so I'm going to take out my calculator, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to say, right, let's use my time button. 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 50 seconds. To that, we are adding 4 hours, 50 minutes, and 20 seconds. Okay, equals, guys, here it is, 8 hours, 11 minutes, 10 seconds. Can you see that? 8 hours, 11 minutes, 10 seconds. 8 hours, 11 minutes, 10 seconds. Oh, calculators are wonderful things. Guys, use them. You're allowed to use them in your exam, so use the thing. It makes sense. Okay, right, let's move on to our next question. I hope you didn't mind me digressing there, but I just felt that calculator, sure, so many people don't know about it, and it's a wonderful tool. So go out, get some times, hours, minutes, seconds, add them to more hours, minutes, seconds. Play with your calculator and see how it works. Okay, wonderful find. Now, if the price of bread increased from 4 Rand 50 through to 5 Rand 90, calculate the percentage increase. Guys, this you've got to know how to do. You know, the first Maths Lit paper in grade 12 came about in 2008. So it was 2008, and then we had a 2009 paper, 2010 paper. We've had 3 matric papers already. I'm telling you now, each one of those have had some question about percentage increase. The chances are in matric this year there might also be another question. Why? Because every other paper's had it. Why won't this paper have it? So now that you're in grade 11, just get used to it. You're going to face a question like this in grade 12. And how do we work out percentage increase or decrease? It's quite simple. What we do is this. We say percentage increase or decrease is equal to the difference over the original times 100. Okay? Got to know that, guys. You just got to know that. The difference over the original times 100. What do I mean by difference? What do I mean by original? Well, let's have a look at this example. Okay? So, the price of bread increased from R4.50 to R5.90. So what's the difference? The difference is R5.90 minus the R4.50. That is the difference. Okay? Over the original. What was the original price of the bread? The original price of bread was R4.50 times 100. Now, guys, again, we let our calculators do the work. So I've got R5.90 minus R4.50 over the original R4.50, and we're going to multiply that then by 100, and we get an answer of 31.11%. So it's 31.11%. Sure, that's a huge increase, eh? Would be nice if that was my salary increase, but unfortunately in this question was just the increase of the loaf of bread. Okay, going on. A landline rate for a local telephone call is 74 cents for 89 seconds. How much would a call lasting, sure, this funny time, cost? Okay, now what is this time? This time is no hours, 4 minutes, 27 seconds. So let's do that. I know that 89 seconds, okay, cost me 0.74 Rand or 74 cents. So what will 1 second cost me? Remember earlier we had a question on ratio and rate, and I said one of the biggest hints I can give you is always find the value of 1. So we got 89 seconds. Well, how much is 1 going to cost me? Well, how do I do that? Well, to get 89 to 1, I divided it by 89. Let's do the same here. I'm going to say I've got 0.74 divided by 89. But now, I want to know that amount of time. How many seconds is 4 minutes and 27 seconds? Let's find some more space to write here. We are going to say 4 minutes, and I've got 27 seconds. Well, 4 minutes, to change it to seconds, we're going to multiply it by 60, aren't we? Of course we are. Why? Because there's 60 seconds in a minute. So 4 times 60 is going to give me 240 seconds. I'm going to add the 27 seconds, and I land up here with 267 seconds. So now, 267 seconds, how much is that going to cost me? Wait, how did you get the 1 to become 267? You multiplied by 267. And because I'm multiplying by 267, I'm going to do the exact same this side, multiply by 267. So our calculator's got to do all that work for us. Okay? So we are going to say, right, we have got, let's just clear the calculator quickly. We've got 0.74 over 89, so 0.74 over 89 multiplied by 267. Multiplied by 267 equals R2.22. So R2.22. So if you talk on the phone for 4 minutes and 27 seconds, it's going to cost R2.22. Well, it won't cost you R2.22, it's going to cost your folks R2.22. And to have a meaningful conversation for 4 minutes and 27 seconds, I think sometimes is worth the R2.22. Okay? Your folks may not think so, but I reckon it is, and I'm sure you do too. Next question. Consider the following data, which represents the rainfall in the Petra Valley for a particular week. Now, the Petra Valley is a wonderful valley in the country of Lebanon, okay? And in this fantastic valley, there are wonderful grapevines that grow. And from those grapevines, obviously, they make a lot of Grape juice, of course I do. Sometimes I make a bit of wine, but yeah, we'll talk grape juice because you're all under 18, so grape juice it is. Now, that tends to have quite a bit of rainfall, that valley, okay, because grapes require a good set of rainfall. So here it is for a particular week. One day they have 32 millimeters, then they have 12, then 87, then 21, then 64, then 71, then 13 millimeters, okay? So it all takes place in Lebanon, a whack of rain, okay? Makes you want to call Noah and tell him to build an ark because there's quite a bit of rain going on here. So what is the total rainfall for the week? Well, it's going to be very simple. Hey? All we're going to do is get out our calculator and we're going to add. And we're going to say the total rainfall must be for that day, 32, plus the 12 on the next day, plus the 87 on the next day, plus the 21 on the next day, plus the 64 on the next day, plus the 71 on the next day, plus the 13 on that final day. And that's going to give me 300 mils. Okay, so we're landing up then with 300 millimeters of rain. Okay. Guys, that was straightforward. That's not hard at all. And you know what? It was worth 2 marks. Man, that's just a time to celebrate. You get a question like that, you put up your hand, you excuse yourself, you do a double flip out of joy, you get back down and you carry on working because that's a guaranteed 2 marks. Next one. Calculate the daily mean average for this particular week. Okay, so how do we calculate mean? We say the mean is equal to my total over the number of bits of information I have. So what's my total? Well, the examiner actually helped us here by asking for it earlier, which is 300. Okay, so it's 300 mils divided by 7. It should be 7 because there's 7 days in a week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. I'm so glad the person who set this paper knew there were 7 days in the week. So it's 300 divided by 7. So we're going to go on and we say, right, so 300, divide that by 7, and my answer now is going to be 42,86. Okay, so 42,86 mils. So that's the average rainfall per day. Now, determine the range of rainfall that felt. What's range? Range is my highest amount minus my lowest amount. Okay? It's the difference between that high amount and the low amount. So we're going to say, okay, so my range is the highest minus the lowest. What was my highest rainfall? Let's have a look. Here it is, 87. So I've got 87 mils minus the lowest for that week. What was the lowest? I've got a 12 here. It looks like it is 12. So minus the 12 millimeters. Okay, what is 87 minus 12? Well, I'm not going to think today because I bought this expensive calculator. So 87 minus 12 equals 75. So my answer then is 75 moles. Easy stuff. Of course it is. And remember all these questions so far, what have we been doing? We've only been saying, can you do this? Can you do that? Do you know how to calculate mean? Do you know how to calculate a percentage? There's no huge problem that we've had so far. Just basic skills. Next one, question 2. Okay. The table below gives the approximate distance of lightning strike and the time taken between the flash and the thunder. Right. So, I'm sure you've been in the middle of a storm. Okay, those of you who live in the Gauteng province will know what our storms are like. Yeah. Okay, so you can sit, you can see the flash rather, see it, and then you hear the rumble, or you hear the rumble and then you see the flash, and there's a time period between that, and they maintain for every second. It means that storm is 400 meters away. So let's look at this table. Time, 1 second, okay? And you hear the thunder and you see the flash. 1 second between the two, 400 meters away. If it's 2 seconds, how far is the storm? Well, if 1 second represents 400 meters, 2 seconds are going to represent 800. What's 3 seconds going to represent? 1,200 meters. 4 seconds, 1,600. 5 seconds, 2,000. How are we getting these? We're just saying 2 times 400, 3 times 400, 4 times 400. Okay. Now, the very first question then goes on to say, determine the values of A, B, and C. We've done that. A is 800, B is 1, 2, and C is 1,600. Now, next question says this. Use a table to draw the graph of the relationship between the time and the approximate distance on the given set of axes. So let's go. And right. Don't have a set of axes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to draw a set of axes here. And I'm going to say this. We've got a wonderful set of axes over there. On the one side, I'm going to have the time. So I'm going to have 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and 5 seconds. I'm going to have 400 meters, 800 meters, 1,200 meters, 1,600 meters, and 2,000 meters. Okay. Now, I'm going to plot that. 1 second, 400 meters. 2 seconds, 800 meters. And so what we're going to do then is we are going to land up with a line. Oops, let's try that again, shall we? We are going to land up with a line that's going to actually join all those dots together. Okay, so I've got a whole lot of dots. 1 second to 400, there it was. 2 seconds, 800 meters away. 3 seconds, the storm's 1,200 meters away. When I draw a line, I'm going to land up with a lovely straight line. Why is it a straight line? Because every second represented 400 meters. It wasn't a case of 1 second is 400, the next second is 500, the next second is only 200. Every second represented a constant increase of 400. And as soon as I have the same increase, as soon as I have a constant increase, I know my graph is going to be a straight line. And that's why I landed up with this beautiful straight line. Happy? It's easy, isn't it? Right, let's move on. Now, use a graph to answer the following. How far away does the lightning strike if the time is 3,5 seconds? Let's go back to our graph. So 3,5 seconds, how far is it away? Now guys, you're supposed to use your graph to answer this. And I want to say my graph is not accurate because I didn't draw an accurate set of axes. Okay? But you would have a wonderful set of axes given to you in your exam. And once you've plotted it, all I'm going to do is say, right, let's find 3.5, draw a dotted line up where it strikes my actual graph, draw a horizontal line across, and you're going to land up here with an answer, and it'll probably be 1,400 meters away. Okay, next question. We've done that one. Let's go on. Right, question 3. It finally happened. Mr. Nkosi eventually found someone that would marry him. There was much to plan. He decided to have his reception at the Bloemfontein Yacht Club, which can accommodate 100 guests. Now, I say Mr. Nkosi seems very, very confused. In the joy of actually finding someone that was prepared to marry the guy, he ran off to the Bloemfontein Yacht Club. Now, I don't know where Bloemfontein has a yacht club because there ain't no sea there or anything, but nevertheless, he finds a yacht club in Bloemfontein. And he goes to them and he says to them, hey, I'm getting married. I found someone. She agreed to it before she changes her mind. I want to get married this very Saturday. Quickly, tell me, how much are you going to charge me to have a reception? And he was given an option of two prices to choose from. The first option was to pay 8,500 Rand, irrespective of the number of guests. But remember, it can't be more than 100 because it can only cram 100 into this yacht club. The second option was to pay 1,500 Rand plus a further 100 Rand per guest. Now, the graphs below are an illustration of the two payment options. Let's have a look at this. So one option, like one graph, shows a constant payment, irrespective of the number of guests. Let's have a look at this. If 20 guests come to the wedding, it's going to cost 8,500 Rand. If 40 guests come to the wedding, it's going to cost 8,500 Rand. If 100 guests come, it's going to cost 8,500 Rand. Shame. If one little guest come, let's say he's got no friends and only his mother comes to his wedding, okay? If she comes alone, it's still going to cost him 8,500 Rand to have the reception at the Bloemfontein Yacht Club. Okay. Now, graph number 2. Remember, it starts off with 1,500 and thereafter it's going to cost a further 100 Rand per guest. Okay, so 100 Rand for every guest. So now you can see the more guests I have for graph 2, the more it's going to land up costing me. So graph 1, option 1, 8,500 Rand flat, mate. You got one person at your wedding, it's costing you 8,500. You got 100 people, it's costing you 8,500. The other option, we'll say you pay 1,500 Rand up front, and for every guest, you're going to pay 100 Rand as well. We understand that? Now, let's go look at our questions. Number 1, write down the equation for graph 2. What was graph 2? Graph 2 says the cost is 1,500 Rand plus 100 Rand per guest. Okay? Now, Mr. Nkosi decides to invite 90 guests to his wedding. Which graph should he consider using? Graph 1 or graph 2? Let's have a look at it. He's going to have 90 people. So I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Here's 90. What graph should he consider? Well, if he does graph 1, it's going to cost him there 8,500 Rand. If it's this graph, it's going to cost him a whack more. It's going to cost him about, what's it going to be, 9, 11, about 9,000 Rand, hey? About 10,500 Rand rather. So it's going to cost him about 10,500 Rand. Okay, so the first graph, 8,500, the next one, 10,500. Of course he's going to go for graph number 1. That makes more sense, doesn't it? So which graph would he consider, graph 1 or graph 2? Graph 1, pal, that's what we're going to go. What is the cheapest price he'll pay for the 90 guests? Well, we've already done that. We said it's 8,500 Rand. Now, here's the sad part of the story, and it's really a real tearjerker. Sadly, Mr. Nkosi only has 7,000 Rand to spend on his reception. Why? Well, he had to buy this woman all kinds of gifts and things just so that she'd agree to marry him. He spent so much money courting her that he's only got 7,000 Rand left. So he goes off to the yacht club, says, geez guys, I really want a great wedding, but I've only got 7,000 Rand. What is the maximum number of people that I can have at my wedding for 7,000 Rand? Well, let's have a look at the graph. The graph's going to help us here. So 7,000 Rand, that's this line over here, huh? Can you see it? Okay, now, 7,000 Rand. He can't go for graph 1. He can't take option 1 because option 1 was 8,500 Rand minimum. Well, he hasn't got that kind of money. The guy's only got 7,000 Rand. So 7,000 Rand means he can have so many guests. Do you see where the 7,000 hits the graph? And where's this going to go? It's going to go down halfway between the 50 and the 60. So he's allowed 55 guests. Okay, so that's the number of guests he can have at his wedding. Okay, and that's probably just all the in-laws and no friends, no nothing. Are we happy with that? Okay, so that graph work was really fantastic because it really helped us solve a whole lot of questions. Let's move on. Now, Mr. Corsi decided to take one of the photographs of his bride and frame it. Okay. The photo with the dimensions 180 millimeters by 300 millimeters is placed into a rectangular frame, 290 by 400. The inside of the frame is circular in shape with a radius of 85 millimeters, as illustrated below. What area of the photograph will not be displayed or hidden by the frame? Round your answer to the nearest millimeter. You'll need to use the following formula. Now, folk, they give us formula. I say this every single time we come to a question like this, but you know what? I'm going to say it again. Examiners give you a formula so you can use it. They don't wake up at 2 in the morning and think, how can we make this question more difficult? I know, let's throw in some random formula. They don't do that. Okay? They will give you a formula if you are required to use it. So when I look at this question, I get given two formulas. The one is the area of a rectangle, and the other is the area of a circle. Now, the fact that they've given me tells me quite clearly I'm going to use both those formulas. And if I don't, I've probably made a mistake. And you know what? You would have made a mistake. So I've got to use my formulas. So let's just set the tone here. So I have a photograph. There's my photo. Okay, and then I have a circle part. So the photo goes into the frame and only the circular part is showing. So the question is this: what part of the photo, everything I'm shading in now, what part of this is not being shown? Okay, what's the area of that shaded part? Well, you know what, this is quite easy, isn't it? All we've got to do is find the area of the whole photograph, find the area of the circle, subtract the circle from the rectangle, and it'll leave me with all those bits. What do I mean? Let's look. So, the photo, let's just put in the dimensions here. The photo has the dimensions 180 by 300. So it's 300 high and 180 wide. We're not going to make it 300 wide and 180 tall, otherwise we're in huge trouble if you're saying your bride needs a wider picture than the height. Okay, so we'll pretend she's nice and slim. So 180 and a nice tall chick, 300. Okay, so 180 by 300, and its radius, the circle has a radius of 85 mil. So that there is 85 millimeters. Can you see what we're doing? Okay, I'm not worried about the frame yet because this question doesn't ask me about the frame. It's just part of the photograph. So let's go for it. So we're going to say, right, the area of the rectangle is equal to length times breadth. We're going to say it's 300 millimeters times 180, was it? Yeah, it was 180 millimeters, and we're going to get the area. Now, some of my students sometimes ask me this question. They say, well, does it matter if we say 300 times 180 or if we say 180 times 300? Well, folks, the truth is it really doesn't matter, okay? Because what is 1 times 2? 1 times 2 is 2. What's 2 times 1? It's also 2. So if I'm multiplying, whether I say apple times banana or banana times apple, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to get the same answer. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is also 2. So 300 times 180 is the same thing as saying 180 times 300. And our calculator is going to do that for us. So 300 multiplied by 180 equals 54,000. So I've got here 54,000 what? Millimeters, not just millimeters, but millimeters squared. Why squared? Because we're dealing with the area. If it was volume, it would be millimeters cubed. But this is area, so it's millimeters squared. So that's the area of the rectangle. Now, the area of the circle is pi times r squared, okay? And you will be told that pi, you've got to use 3,14. Okay, so 3.14 times the radius. What was the radius? It was 85 millimeters. So times 85 millimeters, and not just times 85, but we're going to square the 85. I've said this before as well, and I'll say it again. Guys, it's so frustrating at the end of the year in matric when people say this area formula for a circle is pi times r squared, and then they put things and say 3,14 times the radius, and they forget to square the radius. That is so scary, because you're just throwing marks away. You know what you're doing, but you're just making careless mistakes. Don't make careless mistakes. Okay, equals, now our calculator, 3.14 multiplied by 85 squared equals, and there's our answer, 22,686,5. So 22,686,5. What? Millimeters squared. Okay. Now, we have the area of the whole rectangle, or the whole photograph. We have the area of the circular part. What part is covered by the frame? Well, it's going to then be the 54,000 millimeters squared minus the 22,686,5. Okay, and that is going to give me, calculator comes out, and we say 54,000 minus 22,686.5 equals, and there's our answer, 31,313,5. So it's 313,135. So let's write that down quickly. 313,135 millimeters squared. That's the amount of photograph, remember our picture, that's the amount of photograph that's covered by the frame. It's time to move on. Each table at the reception will be 2,5 meters long and 100 centimeters wide. The tables are 850 millimeters high. The bride wants each tablecloth to cover the tables to hang in such a way that they just touch the floor on all four sides. Now, folks, before we even take that question and pull it apart and try and figure out what it means, there's a warning light that should be flashing in your brain, okay? And what is the warning? The warning is this: I have meters, I have centimeters, and I have millimeters. Folk, that's a problem. And why is it a problem? It's a problem because we can't take meters and multiply it by centimeters, or centimeters and multiply it by millimeters. All my units must be the same. So I'm either going to change everything to meters, or everything to millimeters, or everything to centimeters. And we'll look at the question, and normally the question will ask us what units it wants the answer in. And that's the units we're going to change it to. Okay, so let's look at the question. It says, what area should the tablecloth be? Give your answer in meters squared. In other words, we're going to change everything to meters. So this over here, and we're going to change colors because I'm going to emphasize it. This over here is going to remain 2,5 meters. Okay, 100 centimeters is how many meters? Well, there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So 100 centimeters is actually 1 meter. Okay, how many meters is 850 millimeters? Well, there are 100 centimeters in a meter plus a further 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So this is going to be 0,85 meters. Let's look at that. We had 850 millimeters. To change it to centimeters, we're going to divide it by 10. To change centimeters to meters, we divide it by 100. In other words, we're dividing by 10 and then we're dividing by 100. So it's 0.850 or 0.85 meters. Now that's the first thing you had to do. You had to get all the units to be exactly the same. Right, now let's unravel this question. Let's bite into it and try and figure out what's going on. So we have a table at your reception. Okay, we're told that the table is 2,5 meters long. So there, 2,5 meters long, and you're told it's 1 meter wide. Now, guys, when you sit at supper tonight, if you've got a tablecloth on the table, you will note that the tablecloth doesn't just cover the top of the table. It also hangs over the table a little bit. All right? Well, for this particular wedding, this bride is saying, I want the tablecloth to cover the table, but I want it to hang over in such a way that it just touches the floor. Okay? So how high is the floor from the top of the table? Well, we're told it's 0.85 meters. Now, that means my tablecloth can't only be 2,5 meters wide. It's also got to wrap over this end and wrap over that end. In other words, it's a further 0.85 meters. Sorry, and a further 0.85 meters. So my length is going to be the length of the table, which is 2,5 meters, plus this extra bit of 0.85 meters, plus a further 0.85 meters. So my total length now is going to be 2.5 plus 0.85 plus 0.85 equals, and our answer is 4,2. So the length of the tablecloth I need is 4,2 meters. Well, how wide is the breadth? Now, not only do we have a little bit of tablecloth hanging over the one end and the other end, but we've also got tablecloth hanging over this side and this side. So my breadth of my tablecloth is the 1 meter plus, so we got that little bit of 0.85 meters, and we've got this bit over here of 0.85 meters. So the total breadth is the 1 meter plus 0.85 meters plus 0.85 meters. And that is going to land up giving me 1 plus 0.85 plus 0.85 equals, and my answer is 2,7. 2,7 meters. So we have our length, we have our breadth. But the question was, what is the area? Let's look here. What area should the tablecloth be? Give your answer in meters squared. So let's have a look at that then. So we're going to say, well, area we know is length times breadth. What was my length? 4,2 meters. So I've got 4,2 meters multiplied by the breadth, which is 2,7 meters. Calculator, we're going to say, right, we've got 4.2 multiplied by 2.7 equals, and we get an answer of 11,34. So 11,34 meters squared. Why squared? Because we're dealing in area. So, now that was kind of tricky, hey? But if you drew a diagram like I drew, then it makes it a lot more easier. And guys, don't be scared to do that in your exam. Don't be scared to draw an draw a picture and put in all the measurements and show all the detail, because it's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay, now, let's have a look at the next one. Each table at the reception will be 2 2,5 meters long and 100 centimeters wide. The tables are so high. The bride wants each tablecloth to cover the table and to hang in such a way that they just touch the floor on all four sides. Now, if the material needed for these tablecloths will cost 62 Rand 45 per square meter, then determine the total cost for the tablecloths if there are 7 tables. So, how much is it going to cost? Well, I'm going to write straight away. The cost is, I've got 7 tables, multiplied by 62 Rand 45 times, and it's going to be, we had to go back to work this out, okay, multiplied by 11,34 meters squared. So times 11,34 meters squared. Okay, 7 tables. Each table is 11,34 squared meters. Each meter costs 62 Rand 45. So it's 62 Rand 45 times 11,34 meters squared multiplied by my 7 tables. And then we just go ahead and we do the maths. So I'm going to clear that. 11,34 multiplied by the 62 Rand 40, was it 45? Multiplied by 7 tables, and the material is going to cost us 4,957 Rand. So 4,957 Rand and 28 cents. 28 cents. Yes, like that's a lot of money to pay just for the tablecloths alone. Well, so much for this poor guy's budget. He could only afford 7,000 for the reception. But then the wife comes along and she just adds on and says, I want tablecloths. And you know what, pal? They're going to cost you 4,957 Rand and 28 cents. Okay. So our wedding costs are getting a bit much here. Right. Now, next question. Each table, in fact, we've read that. Let's go. Once the tablecloth has been placed on the table, the corner pieces will need to be folded over. Now, here's the diagram we drew earlier. Now, do you remember? We said this part here was 0,85 meters. And this part was also 0,85 meters. Do you remember that? Because it folded over the edge of the table in such a way that it had to touch the floor. And the height between the floor and the top of the table was 0,85 meters high. So we know this is my table, and this part here is the part that's hanging over. This part's the part that's hanging over that side. This part over here is the part that's hanging over, and that part's the part that's hanging over on the other side. Okay, now calculate the total area of all 4 corner pieces A, B, C, and D. Give your answer to the nearest meter squared. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to say the area of one little square there is 0,85 meters multiplied by 0,85 meters. And then I'm going to multiply that by 4. Why by 4? Because I have 4 of those blocks. So my calculator, we're going to say, right, 0.85 multiply by 0.85, multiply that by 4 equals, and my answer then is 2,89 meters. So 2,89 meters. But it's squared because I'm dealing in area, and also the question does say, don't round to 2 decimal places for this question, folk. No, round to the nearest meter squared. And the nearest meter squared is 3 meters squared. Happy? So, lovely storyline here, all about the wedding, and through this we're looking at costing, we're looking at graphs, now we're looking at tablecloths. It's all very exciting. But unfortunately, it's come to an end, and we're now looking at question 4. Now, question 4 talks about Tandu and Neo. Now, Tandu and Neo are both good swimmers and are hoping to qualify for the 100-meter freestyle event at the Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth Games qualifying time for the 100-meter freestyle is 49.23 seconds. A swimmer has to swim faster than the Commonwealth Games qualifying time in order to qualify to swim in the Olympic Games. Tandu and Neo have the same coach and swim every morning and every evening. Their coach times their 100-meter freestyle regularly, as shown in the table below. Tandu's times are arranged in ascending order. Okay, so what's all this about? Let's go through it. Tandu and Neo love swimming, okay? And they are wanting to swim in the Commonwealth Games. Now, in order for them to be able to swim in the Commonwealth Games, they've got to be able to do 100 meters of swimming. Now, that's far, hey? If you know that a normal swimming pool is 25 meters, the normal ones they have at schools, you got to do 4 of those lengths. And you got to do it in 49.23 seconds. That's less than a minute, folk. Yes, that's swimming like you cannot believe. Right. Now, they both have a coach, and their coach now times them, and these are their times. Tandu does it in 49.21, then 49.28, then 50.12, 50.48, 50.48, 51.24, 51.48, 52.24, and 52.54. Now, the nice thing here is the examiner is being very nice. He's saying Tandu's times are arranged in ascending order. What's ascending mean? It means you going up. Okay, so you ascend to great heights. What's descending mean? Descending means you're going down. Right? So if you're in an aeroplane and the pilot suddenly says, "Holy cow, we're descending," you know it's a good time to panic. All right? So going down. So determine the percentage of the recorded times for the 100-meter freestyle that Tandu swam in 49.23 seconds or less. Round your answer to 2 decimal places. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do now is determine how many times did Tandu swim in less than 49.23. Well, unfortunately, Tandu is not that good, He only did it once. So it's 1 time out of how many? Okay, it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 times they recorded his time, and only once did he do it less than that. Now, the question does ask for percentage, and you know that percentage means times 100. So we're going to say 1/9 times 100. Equals. So let's take out our calculator and do it for us. Okay, so it's 1/9 multiplied by 100, and we get an answer of 11.11. So 11.11%. Okay, so that's the percentage of recorded times that he got less than 49.23 seconds. Right, what's our next question? Write down Tandu's median time. Now, let's have a look at it. What does median mean? Listen carefully. Median, middle. Okay, so median is the middle time. Let's have a look. Now again, the examiner was nice. He put them in order for us. So we don't have to arrange these things in order. They're already in order for us. Let's find the middle one. It's only 1 mark, guys, so it's not going to be a lot of work. 1, 2, 1 that side, 1 that side, 1 that side, 1 that side, 1 off there, 1 off there, 1 off there, 1 off there. That's our middle. So our time is 50.48 seconds. Easy? Of course it is. Next one. Determine the range of Tandu's times. What's range mean? It means your highest minus your lowest, okay? Or your fastest time and your slowest time. We take the slowest time minus the fastest. So let's go. We're going to say our range of time is going to be this fast time slow time of 52,54 minus his fastest time of 49,21. Okay, so in our calculator then, we're going to say, right, we've got 52.54 minus 49.21 equals, and we get an answer of 3,3 seconds. So it's 3,33 seconds. That is the range of times. That's the difference between his fastest time and his slowest time, is 3,33 seconds. That's not bad. Next one. Write down Neo's median time. Okay, so now we're looking at Neo's. Now please remember that the examiner was nice because he put Tandu's times in order. Neo's time, he's not put in order, so we've got to do that. So let's do it. Right, so we're looking for his slowest time. His slowest time is 49,2. So I've got 49,20. Use that. 49,21. We've used that. Another 49. No, let's look for 50s. Here's a 50. There's a 50. 50. 56, and then I've got 50,58. What's next? 50,26. We forgot about that. Let's put that in there. Okay, so I've got 50,26. We can put it in there, and then I've got 51,24, and another 51,24, and finally 52,56. Now we want the median. Median means the middle, So let's do that. So let's cross off one this side, one that side, one this side, one that side, one this side, one that side, and I have 2 left. If I cross both of them off, I'm going to have nothing in the middle. So in this case now, my median are 2 values. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to say, well, I've got 50,26 and I've also got 50,58. I can't use both of them, so I tell you what, let's find the mean average of those 2. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to divide it by 2. So our calculator comes up again, and we're going to say, right, I got 50.26 plus I got 50.58. I'm going to divide both those by 2, and my answer then is going to be 50,42. So 50,42. Okay. Are we happy with that? I'm not, and I'll tell you why. I've made a silly mistake. 50,56, and here I said 26. All right. Now, guys, I've made a mistake, and I want to bring something to your attention here, is that with paper 1, it's the easy paper. But man, oh man, it's the one paper where you can make so many careless mistakes. And the reason why we make careless mistakes is because we say, oh, this is so easy, I don't need to concentrate, I don't need to focus, let me just go for it quickly. And people tend to rush through paper 1 because it's the easy paper. But guys, it's the one paper where you can make so many mistakes, like I've just done. So let's go back here. Let's say this. Instead of now 50,26, it was actually 50.56 plus 50.58 over 2 equals, and my answer is 50,57. So 50,57 seconds. And that now is my medium figure. Okay, now I have a little confession to make. I didn't intentionally make that mistake. Okay, it kind of just happened, but I'm glad it did, because it shows that we can all make mistakes. So here's an important little thing. What happens at the end of the exam paper when I'm suddenly finished and I still got another half an hour to go? Do I put my head down and go to sleep? No. I say, oi, I know how to do this paper, and I know I can get so many good marks. But let me check myself. because how terrible it is if I know what I'm doing, but I made a careless mistake. Just like I did now, where instead of 50,56, I saw 50,56, but wrote 50,26. How silly. But it happens time and time and time again. So many people in that final matric paper, in paper 1, okay, land up getting 98% or 99% or 97%. Where did they lose their marks? They never lost them because they didn't know what they were doing. They lost that 1 or 2 or 3% because of a silly, silly little error. Okay, let that be a lesson to us. Now, let's go on. Determine the mode of Neo's times. What's mode mean? Mode means most. Listen carefully. Median, middle, mode, most. So we want to know what time came up the most here. So Neo's time, which one occurred the most? Well, we've got 49,2 and we've only got one of those. We got 51,24 and you know what? I've got two of those. I've only got 150,58. I've got 150,24. I've got one of those, one of those. That's my mode. So my mode is 51,24. It's the one time that came up the most. Okay. Right, our next one says, determine the mean of Neo's times rounded off to 2 decimal places. The fact that the examiner tells me rounded off to 2 decimal places tells me quite clearly it's not going to work out perfectly. So I'm going to have to do some rounding. Okay, so how do we calculate the mean? Well, with the mean, all we're going to do is we're going to add up all Neo's times and then divide by the number of times. So I'm going to say, okay, so my mean is 49,20 plus 51,24 plus 51,24 all the way to 52,56 divided by the number of times. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 divided by 8 equals. Now we add up all those times, and I must admit I've cheated. Before the program, I quickly added them all up. So when we time all that up, we're going to land up with 404,85 divided by 8. So we're going to say, right, so I have 404.85 divided by 8, and we get 50,60625. Now remember, the examiner told us round to 2 decimal places. So we were expecting that answer to have more than 2 decimal places. So it's going to be 50,61. Okay, so equals 50,61. Let's just confirm that. Absolutely. Right. Next one. Use Neo's times for her 8-time trial to determine the probability that her next time trial will be less than 49,23 seconds. So now we're introducing a bit of probability here. So we're saying that Neo's time, she's got 8 times, how many of those are less than 49,23 seconds? Well, let's have a look. 49,2, there's one. No, that's not, that's not, that's not, that's not. 49,21 is less than 49,23. That's not, that's not. So 2 of how many of her times? 8 times were less than 49,23 seconds. So according to this, the probability that her next time will be less than that is 2 over 8 or 1 over 4. Okay? Now, with probability, remember, we can write probability as a fraction, we can write it as a decimal fraction, or we can write it as a percentage. So how would we do that? If I've got 1 over 4 as a decimal, all I need to do is say 1 divided by 4 equals, there's 1 over 4, s to d, 0,25. So we can rewrite that as 0,25. which is also what? Well, if I change it to a percent, I times by 100, and I get 25%. So we can also write that then as 25%. So it could be 1 over 4, or 0.25, or 25%. Folk, I trust you've learned quite a bit today. Thanks for joining us. No matter if you were in grade 10, 11, or 12, there was something for everyone. Have a great day.